One of the perks of living in America is that sometimes I just wake up to a ton of transfer news. So when I woke up and I saw a ton of Twitter notifications, the first thing I'm thinking is, yo, like Jean-Paul Van Heck, here we go, or like a Savinho, deal is advancing, something like that. Dude, look what I wake up to, bro. I wake up to an Ornstein bomba. Brighton and Hove Albion make a £30 million offer to sign Luka Vuskovic from Tottenham Hotspur. And then on top of that, Florian Plettenberg reports Luka Vuskovic has already reached a full verbal agreement with Brighton following very positive talks with Fabian Hertzler in the club's hierarchy. Huh? And then the cherry on top comes from SZY, one of the ITKs in the Tottenham community. He says he wants to start. He will not start next season. RDZ has his center backs for the next 3 to 4 years. Vuskovic isn't in his plans for those years. As I said previously, RDZ has a lot of control as to what happens with incomings and outgoings. Now, before I get into the situation in general and how I feel about it and what I would do, I really want to talk about 3 clubs. One of them aren't involved, but 2 of them are involved in this deal. Starting off with Brighton and Hove Albion. You guys are the most disgusting club I've ever seen in my entire life watching football. First off, Jean-Paul Van Heck is in the last year of his contract and you're demanding $70 million for him. We offer $45 million, which is more than fair. You should actually be chomping at the bit for an offer like that. And then what do? You walk up to the negotiation table and you say, well, you can sweeten the deal by adding Vuskovic in it. Maybe 30 million plus Vuskovic. Bro, Paul Barber, who are you feeling like, bro? Who are you feeling like? Jean-Paul Van Heck is in the last year of his... Hey, wake up. He's in the last year of his contract, bro. In what world are we putting 30 million down on the table plus one of Europe's biggest talents for Jean-Paul Van Heck? Yes, he's a great player. I would love to see him at Tottenham. He's in the last year of his contract. 50 million max. Vuskovic is worth more on his own. I don't even know if I would accept a 60 million pound bid for Vuskovic right now. And then the second club I want to talk about is Tottenham Hotspur. The fact that you let another professional institution think you guys were this stupid is absolutely absurd to me. What on earth did you possibly do to make Paul Barber feel comfortable enough to walk up to that negotiation table and put that stupid offer down, bro? I have to know. It just shows what a mess we are right now as a club. I'm kind of like yelling right now, but I can't believe Brighton and I can't believe Tottenham. And the third club is kind of a stray, but bro, Chelsea, you are enabling Brighton into doing these blasphemous things. They asked for 100 million for Caicedo, you gave it to him. They asked for more than 60 million for Cucurella, you gave it to him. 30 million for Sanchez, oh, here you go. Chelsea, you made football a worse place, bro. I'm being dead serious. Now that I got that off my chest, I do want to talk about the situation as a whole because honestly, I do understand where all parties are coming from. And I do want to start with Luka Vuskovic just to offer some perspective, okay? So just think about it. You're Luka Vuskovic, right? You go to Hamburg. You have a loan of all loans. You're nominated for Bundesliga Team of the Season. You're a nominee for Bundesliga Rookie of the Year. You lose out to Yan Diomande, who's making a move to PSG or Liverpool this summer. You're coming back, you're in a press conference, you say, oh, De Zerbi plays attacking football. I love that. I hope we can work well in the future. A few days later, you open your phone and you see heavy links between Tottenham and Jean-Paul Van Heck. This is the same Tottenham that has finished 17th in consecutive seasons. If I'm Luka Vuskovic, I'm thinking to myself, what more can I do? What more can I do to succeed here? What more can I do to be able to get minutes here? If what I did at Hamburg isn't enough for me to play here, I have no clue what will. And again, he is 19, he's very young, has his whole career ahead of him. But when I'm seeing my name linked with Barcelona, Bayern Munich, the European giants, I'm thinking to myself, surely I can get minutes at Tottenham. But when you come back and it seems like you're not in their plans, I can't even blame him. I can't blame him for wanting to get minutes and prioritizing his career and his development. You're a big 6 club and you just finished 17th in consecutive seasons. This is not a summer where you can take risks. And if I'm being real and brutally honest, Luka Vuskovic can be seen as a risk. At Hamburg, he performed incredibly, but he played in a system that suited him very, very well. He played in the center of a back 3 where he had a lot of protection on either side. And in most games, they were sitting in low blocks and he was pretty much asked to defend his own box. And he is one of the most aerially dominant center backs in Europe already at 19 years old. He was rarely asked to defend large spaces on the pitch. And when he was, it was proven that it was one of the weaknesses in his game. Not to mention, he doesn't have the best recovery pace. And I feel like in a De Zerbi system, his weaknesses will be put on display a lot more than they did at Hamburg. Also, just based on the signings that we made and the players that we've been linked to so far, it's coming clear that the club are taking a more conservative approach this summer. It seems like we're kind of following suit with Manchester United by targeting players in the Premier League. Players that you know will hit the ground running immediately and will give you solid performances from day one. Instead of some of the high potential signings that we've been making, I'm all for making those signings. I'm actually more in favor of making those signings, but I feel like it's starting to get to the point where we don't have that luxury to take those risks anymore because we've been taking those risks for the past 2 years and it's almost cost us. I know there's been the injuries and whatnot, but the fact that we have been heavily relying on very young players because they're the only players who have any type of bravery or technical ability in our squad, I feel like that is an issue. I don't want me validifying the decision to go after Jean-Paul Van Heck to be confused with me validifying the move or the permanent move of Luka Vuskovic. I feel like you can still bring in Jean-Paul Van Heck and keep Luka Vuskovic. People don't realize that Luka Vuskovic is still our player. He's under contract for another 4 years. I feel like if we were able to loan Luka Vuskovic to Brighton for 2 years, it would be a kill two birds with one stone situation. Essentially, you're helping out Luka Vuskovic, giving him game time in a system that'll be slightly similar to what we're going to be playing, and he's also going to get Premier League experience. I feel like this is a really fair deal for Brighton as well, considering they're replacing Jean-Paul Van Heck with a quality replacement for free, and you're able to use the funds from that transfer to help strengthen other areas of the pitch. My only real concern is that's not really how Brighton operates normally. They like to get players in on permanence and then sell them on for a lot of money later. So the fact that they're going to have such a valuable talent and they're not going to be able to sell them on after 2 years or so, I don't see them being very pleased or thrilled with that, but they can just not have the player at all. He's our player for 4 years. So because me personally, I feel like the Jean-Paul Van Heck move will happen sooner or later. I'm getting to the point where I would even be down to just overpay for Jean-Paul Van Heck, get him in, and then loan Luka Vuskovic out to someone else because there's going to be a team who will just take him on loan. So yeah, me personally, I would be reluctant to sell Luka Vuskovic. However, I do understand why the club are taking that stance, why they are willing to sell. There are weaknesses in his game. I do feel like it is more of a timing thing than his ability. If we had finished maybe 8th or 7th last year and we got Europe, then I feel like Luka Vuskovic would be coming in and we'd be willing to give him minutes. We'd also have space to give him minutes because we'd have 2 games a week. Again, I just feel like it's more of a timing thing than anything. If we did sell him, it would have to be a significant fee though. It would not be anywhere near 30 million. If we sell him for less than 50 million, I will be absolutely sick. Especially because I feel like we don't need to do business with Brighton. Like, he has 4 years left on his deal. There are plenty of teams out in the world who would be willing to take him on loan or would be willing to buy him for way more money. I don't even think the most frustrating fact of the situation is that Vuskovic is being sold because honestly, I feel like he would have played with us for 2 or 3 years and then went on to a huge club if he played well. I think the more frustrating thing is that Vuskovic is being involved in these talks because we're not meeting Brighton's demands for Van Heck. Dude, just pay the money. If you don't think he's worth the money you're paying, don't give up an asset like Luka Vuskovic because you don't think Van Heck is worth the money. And this is why I feel like we need to get a sporting director in as soon as possible because I know De Zerbi is pushing this move. I know this is a player that he likes, but it just gets to a point, right? Because Luka Vuskovic is one of the best center back talents in Europe. So the fact that we're willing to sell him at a discount price, pretty much at like a half cut price, so we can overpay for Van Heck who's in the last year of his contract. I don't know. I just personally think that's bad business. But you guys let me know in the comments how you feel about this situation. Are you willing to let Vuskovic walk? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but I feel like if it was a bigger club, if it was like a Barcelona at the right price, hands up, what can you do? But dude, Brighton, selling to Brighton for 30 million. What are we doing? Anyways, drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and come on, you Spurs.